it is Karen. I'm here to talk a little bit about Shorty September. So Shorty September is this readathon that's hosted by Sean and Bert and Heather. She views herself as a sidekick, but really it is a collaboration between the three of them. It is basically a time the whole month of September where you read books that are short. Sean and Bert define short as 200 pages or fewer, and I would definitely agree with them. However, this year, in my head, before this announcement, I decided that I'm going to group all my books and pull all my books from my shelf that are 250 or shorter and just like get them all out and get them ready, so that I have a stack already ready to go that I can pull from when I figured out the prompts, which the prompts have been announced. I will link both the videos below about them, but basically Shorty September is my favorite thing ever because September is the busiest month in my entire year. So it helps that there's this challenge where you're reading really short books. And in addition, it doesn't even matter if it was the craziest month of my entire life every single year. Last year was extra crazy because I moved into this apartment. But anyway, I really like the reward that you get from reading short book. Like you get so much benefit from so little work. So anyway, point of this video is I thought that I would share with you my top fiction that I would recommend, and I didn't pair them with any of the prompts, but these are just shorties that I think that other people might love. And I will also do a video with nonfiction shorties. The first shorty that I think you guys should read is Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro. This one I did a full review on, so I will link that below in case you want to watch it. It's basically about this woman who has Parkinson's and her daughter was murdered, or she thinks her daughter was murdered. Basically, everyone is saying that her daughter committed suicide. She disagrees. That is not what happened. And she sets out on this journey to go across town and try and find someone that will help her advocate for like the cops to do their job and do more research because her daughter did not kill herself. And it takes place in a single day. It's set around her medication schedule. My dad has Parkinson's, and so I just like deeply connected to this book and I loved it so much. I would say it's definitely more of literary fiction and not so much like a crime book, but that was like a good kind of thing that pulled you along in the plot, although most of it is character driven. You guys, I totally forgot Mouth to Mouth. That book is so good. Please watch my video for that because I'm editing and I forgot to mention that one, but it's really good. The next book is one I just finished and it is called The Mad Women's Ball by Victoria Moss. This is basically about this insane asylum with all these women in it, and you kind of realize that it's in France, by the way, and I think this book is translated from the French as well, but anyway, you basically realize that all these women are there not because they're insane, but because stuff has happened to them, and mainly like men have done shit things to them, and you kind of follow the story of this one girl in there who can see dead people, and thus she is put away in the insane asylum. And basically it's the story of like, can she escape? Because you know she's not insane, just like all the other women there. Basically, men have thought for whatever reason that like, you are not allowed in society, you are not like meeting this standard that we have for women. The other one is The Turn of the Screw, which I honestly don't remember much about because I've read it a long time ago, but I know that it involves ghosts. Let me read the back because it's been a minute. By the comforts of a blazing fireplace on a cold Christmas Eve night, guests at a holiday party share stories of phantoms and ghosts of Christmases past. Yet one delivers a tale of sheer fright for which no one listening was prepared. Basically, after losing both parents, a young boy and girl moved into a large wooded estate to be held under the care of their uncle. Wanting nothing to do with raising the children, the uncle hires a young governess to attend to their care, yet the governess could never have anticipated the horrors that await her discovery. When it becomes evident that the children have some supernatural connection with the deceased former governess and her lover, the young governess finds herself scrambling to regain control of the two children, slipping away from her grasp. So one of the reasons that I don't remember a ton about this one is because Ruth Ware did like her own version of this one involving like a nanny in the present day, and that's the one that's fresher in my mind. But a good ghost story is always amazing. Another one that has been super, super long ago is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This is just kind of like a gothic sort of book. Again, it's been a minute, but I remember loving this one, so you should probably read it. Another one that has a gothic-y sort of thing is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. Again, it's been a very long time since I've read this, but I know there's ghosts and I loved it. Well, a ghost. One that is fresher in my mind and I can actually discuss is You Have Arrived at Your Destination by Amor Towles. So everyone loves him, right? So, I mean, you already know that he's a good writer and you should probably read this. It's super short. It's basically about this guy who goes to like this institute sort of a place where his wife has already been, and it's kind of like a fertility sort of a place, but it's more like I don't even know how to describe it, like designing the perfect child. And he doesn't really know why he's there until they start kind of explaining their whole process. He is basically going to be given 3 options for children that his wife has picked out. And like basically it's not like, basically like they have the little like embryo or whatever, and or maybe the sperm and the egg, okay, the zygote or something, I don't know. And they like can tell like, oh, what this person's life is going to be like if it were allowed to continue to grow. And so basically he's in this fancy like swanky office-ish conference room is how I picture it, sort of a situation. And he is introduced to each child through like a video that plays that basically starts with the moment of their birth and kind of goes through their whole life, just to show like how their life would unfold if you were to select that child. So he's given the 3 choices and he needs to decide which one will be his child. And I just thought it just brought up a lot of important questions and things to consider. The next one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I think everyone has heard of. This one is so cozy in the same way that Lonely Castle in the Mirror has a real cozy vibe, but you know, both of them do dig deeper into more intense topics. So this one is definitely much lighter, I would say, than Lonely Castle in the Mirror, but there are like more powerful things that you could think of regarding love and connection and relationships and stuff as you're reading this, even though it is, you know, very heartwarming and cozy and, you know, whatever. But it has depth is what I'm trying to say. Oh, and well, I'm not going to tell you about this one because I feel like everyone knows, but basically it's about, okay, I'll tell you. Basically it's about a cafe, and there's this one spot in the cafe where there's a ghost. But if the ghost goes to the bathroom, which she does once a day, you can sit in her spot and they will pour you a fresh cup of coffee, and you can travel back in time, and you can stay until the coffee gets cold. And if you don't finish your coffee before it gets cold, you get stuck in the past and turn into a ghost like the lady that's there. But anyway, that was probably a spoiler. I'm so sorry. But the rule is you can only visit anybody who has already been to the cafe in the past. So that's the story. And there's a new one as well that you could also read. So if you've read this one and loved it, well, there is a new one, and that one gets into some other stuff. So that one is great. Favorite Shorty of the entire year is The Blue Tent, and so I would highly recommend this one. This one is about this guy. I've already done a full review, but I love this book so much. This guy inherits his aunt's home. It's beautiful. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's like woods and stuff by it. She has this beautiful library, which is basically the whole reason he has inherited this house. And his one request basically is that he needs to keep the library as it is, and he needs to like basically travel between books. Like each book will lead to another book, and he just needs to go book, just learning and growing as he travels through the books. Well, that's all well and good. He enjoys going for walks and all sorts of cozy things. But one day, all of a sudden, there's a tent. Like, he gets real mad about it, but it's not actually on his property. It's on the edge of his property, like on his neighbor's property. But anyway, and it's just real weird. He becomes super obsessed with it. This lady comes out of the tent and he's like spying on her from the woods. And she can see him, even though he feels like he's covered by like the forest. But nope, apparently he's not, because she makes direct eye contact and stares at him for a prolonged period of time. She goes into his house and he's like, WTF, like, not only is your tent like on the edge of my property, now you're in my house? What the heck? He goes in there and she's a real weird and basically says like, shall we do introductions or shall I make the tea? And the story goes from there. Basically, people keep popping out of the tent, almost like it's a portal or something, but it's really good and super twisty, and loads of like window sort of things are in there that I think are really interesting to ponder. Finally, my last one. I did 9 books, by the way, because September is the 9th book, but the last one is My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout. Love this book so much. It's basically the story of a woman who has a pretty poor relationship with her mom. One day the woman gets very ill. She's in the hospital. I don't think it's really discussed what's wrong with her, but she's in the hospital for an extended period of time. And her husband is away with the kids. He doesn't like hospitals, so he's not really visiting. Plus he has the kids to take care of. And her mom just shows up on the end of her bed and just starts talking to her like nothing has happened, even though they've had this estranged relationship. And I just think it's a really interesting look at like the connections you have with family members and the different ways you can love somebody, I think. So those are my 9 fiction books that I would highly, highly, highly recommend. Have you guys read any of these? And also, this would be even better. Can you make your own video as a response to this with your 9 Shorty fiction books that you would recommend to other people? All right, I will see you soon. Bye!